Have you all felt like you're just in a hurry or constantly busy, not making any momentum or progress in your life, not gaining traction? Do you ever feel like you're just treading water just enough to get by? Pun intended, as those of you that are viewing, the ocean's behind me, just treading water. Sometimes too, it may even feel like we're going backwards. And so if that's you, if that's what you feel like, or you're experiencing that in different seasons of life, this episode is gonna be a phenomenal one for you. We're gonna go over how hurry and busy is the thief of progress. Hurry and busy, the thief of progress. Today's episode, if you guys haven't caught our previous episodes on responsibility, taking small steps to achieve success, learning how to get rid of emotional charges by pausing, thinking what a gift, the opportunity to expand your vessel, personal growth, personal development. You can catch all of those in the previous episodes. We're going to dive into how hurry and busy is the thief of progress. So for a lot of us in different seasons, I'm raising my hand, I've been there. There's different seasons that it comes back to, and sometimes it doesn't, right? We're all there. We've all been there. We're going to talk about how hurry and busy can actually be the thief of progress. That's what keeps us from feeling like we're getting any momentum or traction in our life. There's gonna be a few points that I really touch on. One is gonna be starting to look at the words that are used by us and other people. And then we're gonna start to look at the actions that we're taking, the actions that we would like to take or that we'd like to experience. It's more so the experience. There's the actions that go with it, but it's the experience that we want to, the desired experience. And then we're gonna have how to actually create that. So those are gonna be the three things. The first part is gonna be looking at the words, looking at the actions, and then also creating our desired experience that we want. And then the last part is actually how to execute that and create that. So I'm going to start with a quote from my mentor, Ronnie Das. It says, "Awareness is the beginning of change, but self-awareness is the beginning of progress." Awareness is the beginning of change, but self-awareness is the beginning of progress. So creating awareness, that's step one. That's what we're doing via the podcast. Then it's starting to transition that to the self-awareness, where you get to take the actions to become self-aware of what you do, what you say. Ronnie Das, my mentor, again, one of the first things they told me is, Mateo, use your words well. So for me, it's paying attention to those, then looking at the actions, making sure they're aligned with God, myself, and then collectively, if I'm working with other people, making sure that we're collectively aligned after that. So let's dive into it. So when you hear the words hurry and busy come up, I'll give you a few replacement words for that. Is productive. For me, it's productive. And so there's a story I'll share. There's an interview happening with Gary Vee and Grant Cardone. Gary Vee is very big in the media. He does lots of things. They're both entrepreneurs, but he's bigger. Gary Vee's bigger in the media arena. And then Grant Cardone is a big real estate tycoon. 10X Growth is his company. And the interviewer asked the question of who works harder. And Gary Vee didn't think for a second. He's like, me, I work harder. And Grant Cardone just let him finish the statement. And Grant said, but I produce more. And I was like, whoa, that was powerful. For me, it was powerful. It was a lens shift. And so, yeah, do you want to work the hardest? And maybe that's what Gary wants to do. Maybe it was ego. Maybe it wasn't ego. Maybe he just likes to work harder than everyone. And that's okay too. And then Grant's like, well, I want to produce more than everyone. So, and that's that's in comparison to each other. So for us, we'll talk about how actually just isolating on us. Judgment, if you're taking notes too, if you're driving, make sure you come back to this and take notes later, is usually judgment is when we start to compare ourselves to others, right? And that's when we can achieve a destiny that's not ours. We'll feel empty when we achieve that because it wasn't ours in the first place, right? What's yours is meant for you. As long as you take the actions, you're in alignment with God, you're going to achieve that. So that's important too. So for me, the words that I use to replace that is productive. I am productive. Today I'm productive. I'm not busy. I'm not in a hurry. And just think about it. Take a step back and think about it. Is it really hard to find busy? Is it really hard to fill your schedule in today's world? No. You can have the kids' next soccer game, the kids' dance recital. You can add the next program in there. You can go out with your friends on the weekend. You can schedule a trip on the weekend, right? You have social media now. You can schedule content, post, those things. And then you have work on top of that. It's not hard to find busy. It's not hard to find that. It is much more challenging, but also more opportunistic to produce with the time that you have. Because you've all heard it. We all have the same amount of time. Why do some people produce more and others don't? Is it luck? Maybe. I don't know. I'm going to find out for me, and I'm encouraging y'all to find out for you, I don't think it's luck. I think there's different perspectives, different wisdom, and there's timing to everything. There's a patience that comes with it to achieve the lifestyle that you want. And we all have different desires of a heart. So what's right for you may not be right for me, and what's right for me may not be right for you. So that's where it's taking time to align and make sure we're in alignment with God, ourselves, and then the people that we want to work with to create the life that we want. Okay, so that's step one, is to look at the words that we're using, to audit those and replace those with the word productive. I am productive. And also, so in the beginning, it's okay to use that word, but we want to make sure we align that with our actions now, right? So that's going to be step two, is now we want to make sure our actions, we're changing our words. Now we've got to align the actions with them. We can't just use the words and hope that it shows up. We've got to align our actions to be productive actions. And for me, I'm going to share a story here on this too, is to make a list, right, of the things that are, people say they have writer's blocks. When I encourage journaling, they say they have writer's block. And that's not necessarily true. I don't believe that to be true. I've heard this from someone, I can't remember, someone on YouTube, and they're saying no one has writer's block. The easiest way to prevent writer's block is just to write all the things that make you frustrated. Powerful exercise. Not just for what I'm talking about today, in the hurry and busy being the thief of progress, but writing this down is so healing for emotionally, spiritually. It'll help you get your life on track. Right? All the things that make you mad, and do it every single day, every single day. What happened for me is finally I got so tired of writing that I started to write a different story. And that was powerful. And that's what we're going to do here too, is then I started writing what I want to create and what I want to experience. And then all of a sudden those things started happening. And it's not like it happened instantly. It took patience. Sometimes we need to learn patience, right? In an instant world, right? That's why we continue to spend more. That's why we get out. We have so much debt, right? We spend more. And I'm not saying going outside of our means. I'm not going to say that. You're not going to hear me say that. I always ask the question, instead of saying I can't afford it, is how do I afford it, right? But also being a good steward of the resources that we have. So we'll come back to that in a second. So writing those things down. So I heard someone say this, another phrase that we can watch in the beginning phase is the word tired or exhausted. I'm just tired and exhausted, which usually means I'm just busy and I'm living an uninspired life, is usually what I hear in that for myself. And so you hear tired or exhausted. So I was in a men's group, and there's a father of 7. Yep, you heard that correctly, 7. And one of the things that he shared that was profound for me is he said, at the end of the day, I've learned to realize I'm just going to be tired and exhausted either way, right? And days where I really don't have a lot, I end up being tired and exhausted at the end of the day too. And then when I do have a lot on my plate, I'm tired and exhausted too. So if the end outcome or result of the day is tired and exhaustion, then the question comes, how do I want to experience that? Do I just want to complain my way through the day and be so frustrated and all those things? Or could I create better experiences through the day and still be tired and exhausted? And so for him, his thing was, when he get home, his kids want to spend time with him. They want him to read a book. They want him to get adjusted after he just spent a full day of adjusting people. And so for him, he's like, if I'm going to be exhausted either way, now I get to choose in that. How do I want to experience? And usually for me, I do want to spend time with the kids and do that. So if I'm going to be exhausted, I'm going to accept that outcome and just choose to experience how I want. And that was powerful for me. So that kind of goes back into bucket one of auditing our words and that, but also paying attention to tired or exhaustion and just, okay, well, yeah, you can be tired and exhausted, but not letting it be an excuse. There's another saying that says excuses are like toilet bowls. We've all got one and they all stink. So anyways, going back to the list. Step 2 is making the list. What are the things that frustrate you every day, action-wise, that you're doing, right? And so it could be work. It could be taking the kids to school. It could be cleaning. It could be cooking. It could be taking the trash out. It could be small things, the smallest things. It could be all of those things. Write them down. I encourage you to write them down. There's nothing too small for the list. What I am going to encourage also is that you don't compare yourself to others or don't consider what other people think. It's your list. It's how you feel. Write the list. Don't consider that in this. That's going to remove judgment. Okay, so we have that. Now we need to create a contrasting list. So that's one angle of it. Now we got to look at the other angle. What type of experience do I want to experience every day? What would that look like? Right? And maybe you don't know. Just write the first thing that comes to mind. Well, maybe I'd like to do more trips each year. Maybe in every day I would like to have an hour to work out. Maybe I'd like to have an hour to read a book. Maybe I'd like to, whatever it is, be able to go to lunch or, and maybe some of you are like, maybe I don't want to go to work, right? Maybe I just don't want to have anything to do. Maybe. Okay. Those are all things that you can put on the list because it's your opportunity. This is where you can go back to previous podcasts. Here's the responsibility part. It's coming back, right? We can't just make wishes and just wish that it happens overnight and you just rub a magic genie bottle and it's just going to come to you, right? It takes work. It takes energy. It's really an energy thing. You put energy in, you get energy back. And so it's learning how to put less energy in, getting more energy back. That is the name of the game. You can look at money, putting, right? I'll talk about that here in the last one because it's usually what it comes back to, but I'll talk about how that works. Is they say rich people use their money to buy their time back. And people that aren't rich, they trade their time for their money, right? And it's a never-ending rat race or vicious cycle. We're going to talk about how to transition out of that. And that's why there's a book by Robert Kiyosaki. If you're taking notes, here's the book list. Robert Kiyosaki, look up Cash Flow Quadrant. I'm going to give you Richest Man in Babylon. And then I would finish with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is going to be more of a mindset. Cash Flow Quadrant was very creative for me because it kind of explains how the game works. Richest Man in Babylon, I haven't finished yet. I've read the first couple of chapters, and it's really good. I believe it'll be really good following Cash Flow Quadrant, and then Rich Dad, Poor Dad will just engrave that mindset and with stories, and just it's a really good book. So those are the three. So we'll talk about that. So go ahead and transition into it now. So you're looking at all the things, and I'm going to talk about the action steps here. But I want to create the story of if you wrote some things down just to paint a picture of how it can look. I'll share my experience, my story. Things like cooking for us, that's not going to be a long-term thing. So we took this whole trip to Florida to pause, which what I'm encouraging y'all to do is write it down, right? Is we take a pause in our life. Are we in alignment with God? That's always our priorities, alignment through God. Are we aligned with God, right? That God's will's first, his priorities first. We've done things our way. I've done things my way, and I've gotten pretty far in the wrong direction, right? So let me just pause. So I don't want to play that game anymore. God, what do you see for my life? What is your will? Open my eyes, open my ears, give me wisdom, discernment. I'll be in your word. Speak to me. I want to hear it. I'm here. I'm a humble servant. I'm ready to hear it. I'm ready to receive it in my heart and my soul. Align with God. Then it's aligning with self. I'm aligned with God, making sure all my actions and what I'm doing is in alignment. It's not scattered out. I always say it's like pointing the tires on your car in all different directions and driving. That's what most of us do every day. And that's why we're always hurry and busy, is because we're pulling all different directions and we're making no momentum, right? I'm raising my hand because I know that. That's how I come up with all these analogies and things, is because I've experienced them, and I do experience them in day to day sometimes. And that's why I love sharing, because like I know how that felt for me. I'm sure other people feel that way, and I'm sure they don't want to feel that way. So let's work at changing together. And so pointing those different directions. So it's alignment with God, alignment with me. And then for us, it's me and Brandy being in alignment. So for her, it's alignment with God, alignment with her. And then we come together. And that goes for anything, whether it's a company or not. Then you align with the people. The last part is always aligning with the people, making sure everyone that's together is in alignment. Otherwise, they don't need to be a part of that destiny. So once you have that, you've had the list, now you're checking your alignment, is we're going to transition into how to actually start to execute those things. So for us, this trip, and that's why I was talking about this trip, is an intentional vacation where we don't plan anything. So there's certain trips where you can plan things, where you're traveling Europe and you're going to new places and you have something on the list every single day. But I also believe at least once per year, you should have a week where you just focus on what you've done this year. Is it in alignment? It's just a check, right? Otherwise you'll veer off and you'll spend years of your life like, how did I get here? And it happened over time, right? So taking these as just checks, making sure you're on track for where you want to go, the life that you want to live. If things are out of alignment, recheck, get them back in alignment. And that's what this trip is for us, to pause, reflect, take that moment. So for us, at least 1 week each year, we'll do that. Some people call it vision casting. They'll do it at the end of the year. For us, we're just going to do it each year. So, okay, now we talked about that. Now the action steps. Now I'm getting into it. Okay, so we can talk about that. So for us, even things like cooking, for us, if someone's cooking, like, yeah, we can go hire a chef at some point. May not be today because we're not where we want to be yet. But these are things. If she doesn't want to cook, it's not fair to me to say, hey, you get to do the cooking, or for her to say, you cook. Like, those things is, if we don't want to, great, we'll go hire someone to do that. We could talk about teaching. I know people that have travel teachers that travel with them, so their kids are homeschooled. They can go on trips, view the world, do those things, right? Cleaning, people that clean, people that, like, you know, if you have other business things, if you oversee real estate, well, how do you level yourself back where you can pay someone to go do those things for you? And it's great, and everyone can win, right? Everyone has different goals and visions. That person gets a great job, and those things, everyone can win out of the deal. It's not, that's the comparison part too, is when there's so much judgment there, people feel like someone has to lose and someone has to win, and that's not always true. I believe business done correctly, everyone can win out of it, and I've seen it happen. So for us, those are the things that we look at, but I'm coming to the big one here, which is time and money. And so your three major resources: health, wealth, and time. If you don't have your health, that's why the healthy, happy lifestyle. If you don't have your health, your wealth and time is going to be going back to try to get your health. So take care of your health first, then we're going to talk about money here. And I gave you those books. So they say, right, again, trading your time for money. So my first encouragement would be, look at what you're doing. Are you fulfilled and inspired? If the answer is like no, then take a second and look, well, how can I trade the same time or less time for more money? And there's obviously values and morals. I'm not telling us to go off the deep end and do something crazy or illegal. So figure out how you can trade less time for more money. That would be step number one for me, right? Is pausing and taking a look at that. And right, but you get the fulfillment factor. You got to decide what's most important to you in the season. If you just want to keep doing what you're doing, or you're like, hey, I don't really want to work that hard or do that type of work, even though that produces more over here, that's a decision that you get to make. And so for me, that's the game, is you're going to find a way. And what I'm saying here is value, create value, right? And this is why getting around people that are successful or have the lifestyle that you want, the marriage that you want, is being around those people. And I'm going to encourage on this, an important step here is not to just take from these people, right? Is bring something of value. That's why the biggest thing you can invest in is self-development. That's why I gave you books to read, right? Cash Flow Quadrant, Richest Man in Babylon, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Read the Bible. The Bible's got so much wisdom in it. And people are like, oh, I just don't want to read it because of religion. Don't make it about religion. Just take a step back and read it. I'm just going to read it. It's got 60, I believe it's got 60 or 66 books in it, right? I think 40 different authors in it. It's got so much wisdom in it. And so for me, I started with Proverbs, positive actions, Proverbs. That's where I started. There's so much wisdom in it. So I can't encourage you. The Bible would be the number one book that I'd recommend reading. And then those other books would follow that. So read those, let them speak to you. Ask for it. When I pray, I ask for it. Open my eyes, take the veil off my eyes. Give me eyes to see, ears to hear. I'm hungry for this, Lord. Like, speak to me. I'm ready. Your will, not my will. I'm in alignment with your will. I've tried it my way. It's not lead me to a place of fulfillment. I want to learn your way. And so those things, reading those books, but for us, coming back to money, is it's got a lot of great stories on wealth. So when you can learn to trade less time for more money, you have a value, you have leverage. It's a game of leverage, right? You have leverage, you have value, and you're trading it for more money. Now, the key here is to make sure that you don't up your expenses, because then what happens is you're just playing the same game, right? Create more money, more expenses, more money, more expenses, more money, more expenses. You can see how exhausting that is. I've played that game too. And I'm working not to play that game, and we're on the right path for that. So when you get more money, then that's why the richest man in Babylon, it teaches you how to have your money work for you. It teaches you that concept. There's so many different ways for it. There's investments. We have crypto these days. We have stocks these days. You have real estate these days. You have cars that you can rent out on Turo. You can, right? People are talking about car washes. Like, there's so many different ways. We don't lack money, right? People talk of the economy and that. We don't lack money. Look around. Look around. Anywhere that you go, you walk into a Walmart, you walk anywhere, there's probably there's at least $1 million circulating in that store, right? At any given point in time. The question is, why do other people have it and you don't? That is the question, right? And so how do you create value where people want to exchange their money for whatever service or product that you have, and then you get to choose how you use that money to get your time back, right? And so that's the game. So when you can learn to do that, create more, and then you can actually learn to invest into things where your money works for you, doesn't cost you more time, and it's making a return on that, right? And then as you play that game, you will get smarter, or that is the goal, right? To get smarter, to learn how to do that more and more, enough to where you don't have to trade your time for money. And the example I use is like people will go buy, and then I'll just kind of wrap it up here. But when you make more money, they go buy a new car, now the monthly payment's up. And then guess what? Like, it's not cash flow. Right? That's why Cash Flow Quadrant is such a good book, is you're creating cash flow. That is the name of the game, is cash flow. And so people talking about, like, right, you can invest it into real estate and things like that. But even like your car, if your car, you can only get a return on your car is when you sell it, or if you rent it out, like Turo or however else people rent their car out, right? So that would be a way that it would give you a return. I would say rent would be the best way, but what type of return is that versus something else you could invest into? And that's the game, right? There's so many different ways to do it. And same thing for a house. People are like, oh yeah, I'm investing in an asset. And I say potentially, right? When you sell it, it becomes the asset, because that's the capital gains that comes with it. You're making a profit. When you sell it is, or if you're renting it, then you have monthly cash flow. Once that cash flow exceeds your investment, and that's why real estate's really good, because, right, once that exceeds, then you have positive cash flow. You have something that's making you money without you losing money, right? Yes, you may have to clean it and have those fees. You associate all that into the rent. Well, you have it. And then with rental, from my understanding, and this is just a basic understanding, is then too, if you ever want to sell it, the property value should always go up over time, depending on where you buy at. And then you could get capital gains on it, but then you lose your cash flow of rent, but then you could invest into something bigger and then you get more cash flow. You guys get it. You guys get the picture here, right? So this is the game, and there's patience to this. But for me, I stayed out of it because like, oh, I don't know how to do that, or whatever, or I might lose all my money and I don't feel like I have enough to do that. And fair enough, that's all fair things, but starting the process, I heard Alex Hormozy say that's the best time, the perfect time to start is when you actually start. And for me, like even creating this content, I can't tell you how much money I've spent on different gear and things. I'm like, that was just such a waste of money, but I'm so much further along because I just started the process and I paid very good attention to details, and I'm getting better. If I didn't do that, I'd be so far behind and it would have cost me way more. Okay, so I'll wrap up here. So if you guys have questions, definitely leave it in the comments. But those are the 3 points. So 3 points are going to be look at the words that you're using. You can look at the words that other people are using. That's awareness. Look at the words that you're using. If you're hearing the words busy, hurry, I'm so tired, exhausted, start replacing specifically the hurry and busy with productive. Tired and exhausted, then you get to reframe your lenses on that. As if you're going to be tired and exhausted no matter what you do at the end of the day, right? How do you want to experience in between? And that's a powerful thing. And then the second part is look at the actions that you do. What are the actions that frustrate you or exhaust you, or that you're just frustrated, you don't want to do down the road? And they can change over time too, right? And then create the things, well, what do you want to do every day? What do you want to experience every day? What does that look like? Maybe it's you move geographically. Maybe it's your stay where you're at. You just create a different job, or you create jobs for other people, or however it looks for you, right? And then you go into the action steps, which is how you actually execute those. So start with the things that you can really have control over. For me, the thing that changes it the most is usually finances, right? Is how can I trade the same amount of time or lower my time investment for more money, for more resources, right? It could be assets too. It's not even money. It's just more assets that create cash flow, right? How do I do that, right? And that starts with self-development, but starting that process and looking at those things and then making sure that you're not over leveraging your expenses, right? Once you start producing more, if you just keep raising your expenses and these expenses don't produce cash flow, then you're just playing the same game over and over again. And that's why people feel stuck. They don't have traction. They're not building momentum or progress in their life. That is today's episode on hurry and busy being the thief of progress. If you guys have any questions, leave it in the comment section. I'd love to connect with you. If you guys haven't already, hit that like and subscribe. And if you know a friend, family member, or anyone that would benefit from what you heard here today or saw here today, if you're watching the video experience, please share this with them. It takes like 2 seconds, share it with them. And who knows how that will turn out for all of us. Maybe it's the one thing that they needed, the one disruption to lead to a better quality of life, a healthy, happy lifestyle. I appreciate you all and love you all, and I will see you all on the next episode.